What is up, everyone? Season 11 of Go Battle League is starting soon. And it will begin with a week of Open Great League and Great League Remix. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at some top teams for the Open Great League to get you ready for it. If you want to see a video on top teams for Great League Remix, that will come out either later today or tomorrow. So if you want to be ready for that, make sure to subscribe so you can be notified when it comes out. Anyway, let's get started with the team, starting with one of the most powerful cores in the current Open Great League meta. If you're not gonna run this, you should probably try to counter it. It's Walrein plus Sableye or Trevenant, or even and Trevenant. You could run all three of these on the same team and it'd be a fantastic squad, because all three of these are just incredibly flexible Pokemon without that many hard counters. We all know Walrein, we're all annoyed by Walrein. It's a beast. There's only one truly hard counter in the entire meta, and that's Araquanid, which resists every single move Walrein can throw at it. Besides that, it hits neutral damage versus basically everything, if not super effective versus most. Of course, it does have some answers. Mainly fighters are trouble, and that's why you are running a ghost type in the back to handle those fighters just fine. Now, there are a couple core breakers to this squad, like Scrafty, like Lickitung, like both Ninetales actually, but all four of these are very manageable. But if you pair something with these two, make sure it beats at least a couple of those core breakers. One team I've really enjoyed is right there on the top right. It's Walrein, Sableye, and Kanto Ninetales. I personally really like the Shadow Kanto Ninetales, but the regular can work too. Fire Spin, Ember, doesn't really matter, but Kanto Ninetales in the current meta is just incredibly strong, because it also beats this Walrein, Sableye, Trevenant duo, right? So it's a good core breaker, and it pairs super well with Walrein and Sableye, because it beats the Alola Ninetales. It has a very good shot against Scrafty and Lickitung as well, and of course it has the mirror versus the Kanto Ninetales too. Another option you could go with is an ABB line with Trevenant lead. You could also go Sableye lead there, but I like Trevenant a little more because it's better versus Swampert than Sableye. Which, you know, Swampert could be a little issue if you're running a Steel type like a Registeel in the back. So Trevenant, Walrein, Registeel, or Galarian Stunfisk, another super good line. Again, it's an ABB squad. Trevenant is your main anti-fighter. If you don't face a fighter in the lead, you want to make sure you keep that Trevenant alive. So you switch into your Walrein or your Registeel, depending on what lead it is. Either one of those is a super good save switch, but you want to make sure you're safe for Trevenant. So switch into either one of them if you don't see a fighter in the lead. And then you lure out the fighter, hopefully. You take out the fighter with your Trevenant, and then you have your Registeel or your Walrein still lurking in the back. And if there's no fighter, they can probably sweep the rest. It's pretty simple. Like I said, this will probably be a pretty common core, so be prepared to face it as well, alright? Speaking of being prepared for that Walrein Ghost core, there's one more Pokemon that does quite well versus that duo, Araquanid. Course, it completely destroys Walrein and then does very well. It does okay versus the Ghost. I wouldn't say it's great. It's very bait dependent, but Araquanid has a lot of play there. Araquanid also has its problems though, because it gets absolutely destroyed by Steel types. Skarmory, most flyers really completely destroyed. So you want to pair it with a Steel type like Galarian Stunfisk or Registeel in the back, and then you just got a very solid duo. There's a couple core breakers to this duo though. Fire types like Kanto Ninetales are an issue. Talonflame could also be a bit problematic though with the Rock Slides or Zap Cannons. You can kill him with your Steels. Toxicroak, another big issue. Not really a Pokemon you see that often, but maybe a Pokemon that you should be using because it destroys Araquanid and it destroys the Steel types. And of course for this core, the Steel types are also kind of problematic because, well, you only really got your own Steel types to do with it. So whatever you're gonna pair with this core, this duo of Araquanid Steel, it's probably gonna beat these as well. And one good option to beat all four of these is Swampert. So one team I do want to highlight is the Araquanid Registeel Swampert core or team, which you see on the right there, the middle, basically the middle block, Araquanid Registeel Swampert. It's a very balanced trio. In this line, I highly recommend you save switch Registeel if you have a bad lead, because Registeel doesn't really have that many bad matchups. The worst are probably Fighters, a Loader Marowak, but you can still Zap Cannon those and it does a lot of damage. And afterwards you can farm them down with Araquanid or set up your Swampert for a sweep. Another team is the Stunfisk Araquanid core. You see that on the top right. Any like safe switch that beats Fighters in the middle is fine. Pelipper works there, Sableye works there. What's important is that either of these like lure out the steel type, so Araquanid can sweep in the back. There's definitely more possible with this core. It's quite flexible, so let me know if you come up with anything else in the comments down below. This next core is just incredibly meta. I mean, if you've played Go Battle League for more than like a couple seasons, you're sick and tired of this. But this core is just incredibly flexible. It's Nidoqueen plus basically anything that's weak to fighting. And another point is that that thing also has to be strong against Sableye and not that weak versus Swampert. I wouldn't recommend you pair Nidoqueen like a Bastiodon, for example. But besides that, basically anything goes. Umbreon, Lickitung, Scrafty, Walrein, Munchlax, anything really goes. Just a very solid duo, because Nidoqueen is just incredibly powerful, beats the Fighters, beats most grasses, very good against fairies, just struggles versus some steals like Galarian Stunfisk and Skarmory. It does destroy Registeel though, so it's got that going for it. And it also struggles versus Sableye or other ghost types as well. So what you're running with it has to beat those. So Umbreon, Lickitung, Scrafty, Walrein, although that are very solid. One team you could make with it is just combine any like combination of those four and, you know, run those behind Nidoqueen. That's the team you see on the bottom team box right there. Nidoqueen plus 2 of Scrafty, Umbreon, Walrein, Lickitung, and you have a solid squad. One of them is gonna be your safe switch. As a safe switch, I don't think I'd really recommend running Umbreon or Scrafty, to be honest. Definitely not Scrafty. If you're gonna safe switch anything, I'd highly recommend you do Walrein or Lickitung. So that's definitely one of those. Have them on your team as your safe switch, and then one of the other 3 as the backmon, and you would be fine. A little more creative line is the one on top. It's Scrafty lead, Drapion safe switch, and then Nidoqueen in the back. If you run to anything your Scrafty loses to, switch to Drapion. Hopefully lure out like a ground type, a Swampert, maybe even you're not gonna lure out a Sableye, but you got 2 dark types, so it doesn't really matter. But if you lure out like a Swampert with your Drapion actually does kind of fine there. And if you're not gonna run this team, definitely be prepared for it. Luckily, there are a couple core breakers for it. Skarmory in particular is pretty good. Swampert as well, very solid. And these two are often found in the same team too. If you're sick and tired of this Nidoqueen dark or normal line, run Skarmory Swampert core, because it does very well against this squad. Galarian Stunfisk, another Pokemon that does pretty well against most of these, though. If you spot a Scrafty, of course, that is not great. Overall, very solid team though. Not that many core breakers, but definitely can be countered with the right Pokemon. Next up, my favorite team that actually doesn't really want to see the previous line I highlighted, because Nidoqueen Double Dark, there's kind of hard counters to it, but if you don't face that line, it's very, very solid, and it has been solid for like seasons. It's Azumarill lead or Tapu Fini with Sableye as your safe switch, and then Trevenant or Marowak in the back. Double Ghost. The way it works, it's just a standard ABB with a fairy type in the lead, which counters dark types. If you don't see a dark type in the lead, you want to switch to Sableye, hopefully lure out the dark type, and once the dark type is gone, one of your other ghosts can sweep. If you're running Marowak as your second ghost in this line, by the way, I highly recommend you run the Shadow. It's just a good chunk better than the regular. If you don't have a Shadow, I think Trevenant is the way to go. Or, you know, you can always play around with the regular too, but I don't think it will work as well then. As far as lead goes, I don't really have a preference between Tapu Fini or Azumarill. Well, actually, I do have a preference. Actually, in the current meta, I think Tapu Fini is my preferred choice just because I like it. but I think Azumarill is still really, really good. So just use whatever you prefer. If you want to be a little more spicy, there's other fairies that can work as well. Mainly the Den. I think the Den is a very fun lead in this squad, so maybe you should try that out too. This team is definitely not unbeatable though. There are a couple good core breakers to the squad, mainly Lickitung, Pelipper, and Drapion can be quite a pain, but all three of them are definitely beatable with teamwork. So very solid squad, definitely recommend. Anyway, that was it for today. These are just some of the top meta teams, the teams I think will work the best and most consistently for you. There's definitely a lot more possibilities out there, so make sure you experiment as well, as I will be doing too. I'll be running some more like anti-meta, little more spicier lines in the first week of Go Battle League as well. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe so you're notified when those videos come out. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one. Good luck on your battles.